Hello everyone, and welcome to One Man Stream. In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to take this type of graphic data and put it into these types of graphics. They're not anything fancy, but you can see how the information is displayed in this graphic, and in the first graphic, it just had the players' names for both teams. In this graphic, it has one particular team's players, and we've only finished it out for these first three, and I'm going to show you how we add this information. Once you bring this information into vMix as a data source, then you have to map it, and we will go over that information as well. Now, the way that we're able to bring this information into our graphic is by utilizing these buttons right here, and these buttons are actually macros that we're going to make in Visual Basic for Applications, or VBA. It is the programming language used in Microsoft Excel. So we'll show you how to program these buttons, and we'll also show you how to program these two buttons which clear the information. Now you'll notice for each team we have a button to send that information to the home team and a button to send that information to the visiting team. And it's very simple to do, very straightforward. There's just a few things that you have to know, and we'll show you how to do that and so much more on today's episode of One Man Stream. Now you'll notice we have teams 1, 2, 3, and 4 set up, and if I click on the tab for team 5, there's nothing there, and we're going to set that up together. Once we get the information in there for the teams, then we need to be able to manipulate it for our starting lineup, and that's where this information right here comes in. You'll notice when I click on the block over here to the left side, there's a drop-down menu. Well, how do we get these? How do we get this information into this drop-down menu? Well, we'll show you how to do that. That's utilizing a process called data validation. We've done that before, but I'm going to go through it step by step in this tutorial as a refresher, or for those who have not seen how we do this previously. Once we make our selection in this drop-down menu, it's also going to bring in the associated information for that particular player. So when we select a Colton Abbott, it's going to bring in his position, it's going to bring in his year, and it's also going to bring in his number. We're doing this with high school players. When we bring in this information right here, we're calling it high school player age. But you'll notice that we actually have the year that this particular individual is in high school. If we were doing semi-pro or professional teams, we would be putting in an age here for the player. That's the only difference. So we're going to call this tutorial Adding Team Data. This is One Man Stream episode 128, and I'm so glad to be here with you today. We're going to start out in Excel, and I'm going to show you how to bring this information into Excel. It's very straightforward. On the left-hand side, we have the home team information. On the right-hand side, we have the visiting team information, and it's the same for both teams. We have a player name, a player position, a player age, and a player number, and you'll see the same thing on the visiting team side: name, position, age, and number. Now, when we come down here, you'll see that we have the home team starting lineup and the visiting team starting lineup, and we have those drop-down lists that I had showed you. Well, how do we make this drop-down list? Well, it's very simple to do, and like I said previously, we're going to use data validation. So just as an example, I'm going to click in this box right here, but I'm not going to click equals. I'm just clicking in the box, and then I'm going to go to data, and then I'm going to go to data validation. I'm going to click on the data validation right here, and it's going to bring up this dialog box. Under allow, we're going to click the drop down menu, and we're going to click list, and then here under source, we're going to click what our range is, our data range for this particular list that we're making. So let's go back up here. We're going to start up here with A2, and we're going to hold down our shift key, and we're going to go down here to A40, and then click OK. And the reason I'm going down to 40 is in case we have some other rosters that have more players on it. So we'll click OK, and you can see where now we have a drop-down list icon here, and if I click on it, we have all the players that we just included in that list right here. We would do the exact same thing for the visiting team. We would click right here, do not click equals, go up to data. Once again, data validation, click on data validation. Again, we're going to select list. Then we got to click on source. Take us back to the top. We're going to click on the first player right here, which is in F2. Hold down our shift key, and then we're going to bring it down here to where it says F40. and then we're going to click OK. And that's going to bring us our visiting team lineup list. And there that gentleman appears as the first item in this list. Okay, that is the simple part. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to use our old pal vLookup. Now, with vLookup, there's a few things that we need to know. And with vLookup, we have 4 arguments. We have a search term, then we have the data range that we're going to look in, then we need to tell it what row we want to pull this particular piece of information out of, and then we need to tell it whether we're going to have an exact match, true or false. So let's go ahead and see how that works. Right here, we're going to type in equals, and then I'm going to start typing in the function we're using, vLookup. Click on the blue vLookup right here, and you can see it brings in the information we need. The first piece of information is the lookup value. That lookup value is going to be right here, so I'm going to click on this block, which is A63, and you can see that it brings A63 up here. And then I'm going to put in a comma. We need to separate these arguments with commas. The next thing is our data range, or our table array, as it puts out up here. So let's go ahead and find out what that's going to be. It's going to be right here. So we're going to click on that, hold down our shift key, and then we're going to come down here to where it says D40, and we're going to click on that, and then we're going to separate it by a comma. Now we know the data range is going to be A2 to D40. When we're looking at the columns, the first column is going to be the search term. So this is our search term. So this is column 1, column 2, column 3, and column 4. The bit of information that we're looking for right now is the position. And we can see right here, home player position is in column 2. So we're going to put a 2 here, and we're going to put in a comma to separate our next argument, and we don't need to have an exact match, so let's just type in false, finish out our argument with close parentheses, and hit enter. And you can see where it brings in the player's position. All right, so the next thing that we need is the player's age. In this example, we said these are high school players, so we're going to have their class in high school, but it's going to be under the heading home player age. So we're going to click in here. We're going to put that equal sign in again and start typing vLookup. Let's double click on it again. You can see our information that comes in. And again, our search term is going to be the same thing. It's going to be this A63. So let's click on that. Let's put that comma in there. And then we know that our data range is A2 colon D40. Comma. The class is going to be in 1, 2, 3. It's going to be in column 3. So we're going to put a 3 in here, comma, false, close out our argument with a close parentheses, and hit enter. And you can see where it brings in sophomore. Now the only other one we need to do is for the player's number. Again, we're going to type in equals vLookup. Double click on the blue vLookup. Our search term is going to be the same, comma. Our data range is going to be the same, A2 to D40, comma. This is going to be in row 1, 2, 3, 4. This is row 4, comma. And then again, false. Close out our argument and hit enter. And you can see where it brings in this information right here. So what happens when we change our search term? Let's change it to, say, this fellow right here, Jacob Kaufman. We'll hit our drop down menu, we'll go down to Jacob, and you can see where it changes to that information right there. It's just pulling it from this table right here. This information that we have right here, this is what we are going to be mapping in vMix. Let me show you how we actually create one of the teams. So let's click on Team 5, and we're going to go to a website, and this is the website for the Kentucky High School Athletic Association. And the great thing about this website is it has rosters for all the teams. So right here where it says roster, it says click here. We are going to click there, and it brings in a roster for that particular team. So let's click on the first number. We're going to pull our mouse over and include all this information, and then we're going to right click and copy, and then we're going to bring that into our data sheet right here. We're going to select A2, and then we're going to right click and paste, and it brings that information in, but not quite the format that we want. So now we're going to go to the second group. We're going to click on the number 20. We're going to hold down our shift key and come down to H10, and then we're going to right click and copy, come over here to A11, right click and paste, and do the same thing for this third group of information. On I2, we're going to click on it, hold down our shift key, come to L10, right click and copy, and then come over here and right click and paste. And now we don't need this information here, so we'll go ahead and get rid of it. I'm going to click in the box that says 20. I'm going to click in this empty box right here, and then I'm going to click on my delete key. It gets rid of the information, and then I'm going to come here under home, and I'm going to get rid of any background fill colors that there might have been by clicking this. I'd already selected no fill color, so it will get rid of any fill colors that there might have been. And then also right here, we're going to click no borders, so it's going to get rid of those other lines. So you'll notice here we have a number column that doesn't have any information in it. And why is that? Well, when we use vLookup, it reads from left to right, and with the player name being our search term, it's going to start in this box right here under position, and it's going to read from left to right. So it's going to be position, year, age, and then number. So we have our numbers right here. So I'm going to click on the first box, click on the last box, right click and copy, bring it up here into E2, right click and paste. So now we have our numbers. The next thing we need to know is how to create these buttons right here for send team to home and send team to visitor. Well, let me show you how these buttons work first. Let's go to the main, and this is team 1, but if I click this button here, it's going to clear all that data out. First of all, it's going to give me a warning box to say, is this really what you want to do? This will clear all home team information. We know that, so we're going to click OK, and you can see where it gets rid of all that information, and then it gets rid of all the associated information down here. Since these are data validation boxes, it doesn't clear that out, but when we bring in the next team, we would have to select our starting lineup from that information. So how do we get this information back? Well, let's just go to team 1. This is our team 1 again, Colton Abbott, and we're going to click this button here that says send team to home. Click on it, go back to main, and now we have all that information back, and we have all the accompanying information for the players back. Same thing for send team to visitor. It's the exact same thing. I do believe this is team 4. Let's look and see. Yep, this is team 4. So let's go to main, and we're going to clear visiting team. It's going to say, do you want to do this? Yes. So we're going to get rid of all of it. Let's go to team 4. Let's click on send team to visitor, go back to main, and you can see that information's back, and you can see all the accompanying information is back. We have two different kinds of buttons here. We have these two buttons that are sending the information to the home and visitor lineup, and then we have these buttons which are clearing the information. So let me show you how we do those. We're going to start with these buttons right here, the send team home and send team to visitor for team 1. Okay, so how do we accomplish moving that data with just clicking a button? Well, we accomplish that using VBA, which is Visual Basic for Applications, and this is actually what controls Excel in the background. Now, there's a few things that we have to know in order to use VBA. The first thing is you have something that's called a procedural routine for a macro, and that is the sub. Sub is a procedural routine or subroutine. We're going to refer to it as a macro, and it's designed to perform a specific task without returning a value. Something else that we need to know is the dim, and that is for dimension. And what this is actually a keyword used to declare variables. This defines the name and data type of a variable to be used within the code. And then the last thing is this set. And set is a keyword used to assign an object reference to an object variable. And in our case, it refers to a worksheet. And so I'm going to show you this very first bit of information here for send team to home. And you'll see what we have going on. You can see where we have our sub, and that's just actually the name of the macro that we're using. We're naming this macro, and we're calling this copy team 1 to home. And then you can see where we're declaring a couple functions here. And the first one is we're declaring worksheet main as a worksheet, and we're declaring worksheet team 1 as a worksheet. Well, where does that information come from? Let me show you that. And you'll look down here at the bottom, and we have worksheet main, and we have worksheet team 1. We also have worksheet team 2, worksheet team 3, team 4, and team 5. And this right here is worksheet main. So what we're doing is we're declaring the main worksheet as a variable and the team worksheet as a variable. So then what we're doing is we're setting these variables as an object reference. So the next part, you see where it says set worksheet main equals this worksheet dot sheets, and then in parentheses we have main in quotes, and then the second part is set worksheet 1 equals, again, this worksheet dot sheets, and then in parentheses team 1. The next part that we're doing is actually the moving of the information. You can see where we are doing worksheet team 1 dot range, and that range is B2 through E40, and let me show you that. So let's go to, here's our range, worksheet B2, which is right here, B2 through E40, which is going to be down here. And like I said earlier, we're using E40. See where it says E40? We're using E40 just so that when we expand or go to a larger roster, we have already taken that into account. After we copy it, then what we're going to do is we're going to paste it in a specific range. That specific range is on the worksheet main, and we're going to start pasting it at A2. So let's look at this. This is worksheet main, and we're going to start pasting it at A2. This is A2, and when we start pasting it, it's going to bring all that information in for us. So that is for sending that information to the home team. What does it look like when we send that information to the visiting team? Well, let's go ahead and bring that in. So now we're looking at copy team 1 to visitors. So now we're going to, instead of copying over here on this side, we're going to copy it over here on this side. So we want to remember the first cell that we're going to use is going to be right here, and that's going to be F2. So when we copy this range, we're going to copy it in at F2, and you can see in our little piece of script that we have right there where it says worksheet main.range F2 paste special. That's where we're going to paste the information to. The data range is going to be the same because we're using the same data range. All we're doing, instead of pasting it on the home team side, we're pasting it on the visiting team side, and that's why that value at the top says F2. If we were going to do it for another team, if we were going to do it for team 2, the only thing that would be different is up here where we're declaring under the dim statement where we're declaring team 1 as worksheet, we would change that to team 2 as worksheet. And then in the set where we have worksheet team 1, we would change that to team 2. And where it says this worksheet dot sheets team 1 in parentheses, we would put team 2 in there. Everything else would stay the same because we're using the same format for each one of these pages. You could have 50 or 100 different teams. Once you figure out the function for the first team, all you have to do is go back and change whatever team you're currently working on to that team within the function. So it's very simple and very straightforward. Like I said, I've got a tutorial that goes into a little bit more detail on creating a button and assigning a macro to it. If you haven't watched that tutorial, I would suggest that you watch it. Now, the other thing that I wanted to show you in this tutorial was these clear buttons here. How do we clear that information out of these fields? This is the one for clear home data. And the first thing that we're going to do, our sub is clear visiting team data. And we always have to have a beginning and an end to these macros. So the sub clear visiting team data, and then you have the open and close parentheses, that starts it out, and then the end sub is what closes it out. So the first thing that pops up is that message box, and you've seen that, where it says this will clear all visitor team information, and then we start clearing the fields. Well, this is for the visiting team. So let's take a look at it. That's over here. This is visitors. So we're going to start with right here, and that's F2. So it's going to clear F2 all the way down here to F40. See where it says F40? So it's going to clear out all the team names. And then the next thing it's going to do is it's going to start clearing at G2, which is right here. You can see G2. And it's going to go all the way down here to G40. And that's going to clear out the position. And then it's going to go to H2. And it's going to go down to H40. And that's going to clear out all the ages. And then it's going to go to I2 through I40. And it's going to clear out all that information. And the function that's clearing that out is the .clear contents. So one thing that I didn't tell you, and I didn't show you, is in order to create macros, you have to go to the Developer tab, which is right here, and then you have to click on this Visual Basic. Well, I have that open on a separate computer, so when I would click on that, it's going to bring this up right here. And these are the macros that we've created. You can see our sublines right here on this very first one that says copy team 1 to home. This is the information that we've already talked about, and then we end this particular sub or macro. Our next one is copy team 1 to visitors, and then the same thing, and then end sub. So what we're going to do now is we are going to copy team to home. So I'm going to copy this whole thing. I'm going to bring it down here, and I'm going to paste. What we were talking about a moment ago is I'm going to change this copy team 5 to home. I'm going to change the worksheet from team 1 to team 5. For this right here, I'm going to change the worksheet from worksheet team 1 to team 5. I also have to make this over here team 5. And that's all I have to do. So now I've made me a macro based on the other macros that I've already made. I made this one for team 5. So let's go over here to team 5. Again, we're going to go to Insert, Shape. We're going to put this shape right here in, right here. Then we're going to bring us in a text box. We're going to change that font color to white. And we're going to call this Send Team to Home. We're going to put it in the middle up and down and in the middle left to right. We're going to highlight it so that we can make the font a little bit bigger. And then since we have that new macro we just created, let's go ahead and right click and assign that macro to our new one here that says copy team 5 to home. Let's click OK. And now when we hover over it, you can see where it goes to the finger pointer. That means we have a macro there. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to main. We're going to clear out the home team. Then we're going to go back to team 5. And then we're going to send all of this data here to home. Let's go back to main. And you can see now we have all that information right here. Well, since this is a new team, we're going to have to bring in the new players. So from the drop-down list, we're going to bring in Angel, we'll bring in Eduardo, Ben, Axel, Silas, Hudson, Marcus, Harvey, Jacob, Carlos, and Alicio. Now, we just brought all those in. So just imagine if you were making graphics for the opening team graphic, you would have to do that each time. You would have to go in and change all that information in the graphic each time. Well, let me get rid of the macro right here, right there, and let me bring in our home team graphic, or not our home team, but our starting lineup graphic. And you can see we have our new players that we just brought in as the home team, and then we have the away team right here. Our other graphic is also based off the home team, but that information is already going to be reflected. Let's go ahead and bring that in on overlay channel 3, and you can see where we have those new players that we just put in already reflected in this graphic. Well, how do you get the information into the graphic? Well, that's pretty simple. Well, I'm going to have to show you a different view. Let's go ahead and bring this view in right here, clear all the overlay channels out. We're going to bring in this view right here, and we're going to bring our graphic into preview. So watch what happens when I right click on it and click on title editor. It brings in this dialog box. So what I did is for home player 1, I clicked on this, I came to data source, I selected our data source that we brought in, and I have tutorials on how to bring in data sources, how to bring in Excel spreadsheets, how to bring in Google Sheets, how to bring in JSON data, XML data. If you haven't watched those, I suggest you check those out. But then what you do, you map this graphic to the Excel spreadsheet. Spreadsheet that we have all these different pages, but we're mapping it to the main section there, to the starting lineup part. So what we're doing is the column we're using is home player name, and then what we're doing is we're selecting the individual row. So let me show you how that works. This is the data source. This is the top part of our Excel spreadsheet, but we have to scroll down here to get to our starting lineups. You'll notice line 46 is where we have the first starting player for the home team. That's Angel Aguilar. You can see where he's home player name. That's going to be the name of the column that we're going to map it to. Home player position, home player age, home player number. And then if you go further to the right on row 46, you're going to see visiting player 1. So this is going to be visiting player name, visiting player position, visiting player age, and visiting player number. It's all on the same row, row 46, but this left side is going to be the home player information, and then the righter side of it is going to be the visiting player information. So again, we're going to right click on this and we're going to click on title, and let's click on home player 1 all the way up here at the top. You can see when we click on data source that we have the Excel spreadsheet selected. We have the table or the particular sheet as the main sheet. Then we have home player name selected, and that comes from this drop down list right here, home player name. And we selected row 46, and that brought us back Angel Aguilar. Now let's go to visiting player 1 or away player 1. Click on that, data source. Same thing, we're on the same row, row 46, but this time we're mapping it to visiting player name. Again, go to the drop-down menu, select visiting player name. It's going to bring that information in for visiting player 1. And you do that the same way for each one of the players. You only have to set this mapping up once. Once you set it up, you have it forever. And anytime you change the information in those fields, on your spreadsheet, on your main spreadsheet, it's automatically going to be changed. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to map this graphic. So I'm going to right click on title. The first thing we're going to do is I just noticed on player 3 I did not map his age. So we're going to go to player 3 age right here, click on data source. We're going to choose our Excel spreadsheet. We're going to choose our main sheet, and then we are doing home player age. So we're going to click on home player age right here. And then we are going to select row 49, and that's going to bring in senior, and click OK. So you can see where that changed. So now we're going to do the same thing for player 4. I'm going to show you how that works. So we're going to do player 4 number, click on this, data source. We're going to click on our Excel spreadsheet. We're going to use the main page. We're going to use home player number right here. And then we're going to use row 50 and click OK. And that brings in number 25. Now we're going to do player 4 name, select it, select our spreadsheet. The main sheet is what we want. We're going to go to home player name right here. Again, we're working with row 50 for player number 4, home team player number 4. And it brings the player in. We're going to do the position now. Again, the main sheet, home player position, again to row 50. Click OK. That brings in the position. And now we're going to do player 4 age. Again, the main sheet, home player age, row 50. And again, we got these rows from the data source that I showed you just a moment ago. Click OK, and you can see where it brings in sophomore for this player. That will conclude our tutorial for today. We called this Adding Team Data. This was episode 128 of One Man Stream. As always, if you like what we're doing here at One Man Stream, please give us the thumbs up and a like. Make sure that you do subscribe so that you'll be alerted as soon as new videos are posted. And if you get a chance, please stop by our website. That's onemanstream.com. That's where we have the graphics we built through this tutorial series, along with many of the vMix UTC controllers as well. They're just a few dollars a piece, but it is a way that you can help support One Man Stream. And as always, thank you so much.